Hobby Quick Hits. Delivering that breaking hobby news directly to your earlobes. You want to know those hot drops from the card shop? We've got you covered. With your host, John Newman.
All right, another episode of Hobby Quick Hits on the docket today, and today's topic is shows and show fatigue. Can we get to a show fatigue point? I hope not. Some people will argue, maybe in their areas, that that never will be a possibility, and that's what this show is going to talk about, sort of the rise and comeback of shows after the pandemic, and so far so good. Some areas are getting shows that never got them before. That is a positive, but can we overdo it with shows? We see shows now trying to mimic and best the National, which is, to me, the granddaddy of them all. Is that necessarily a good thing as well? So we're going to kind of tackle a broad range of topics when it comes to shows on today's show. But before we get to the topic, we're going to go, we got our new releases coming out for the week. Want to go over the hobby news in the week that was in the hobby, and Q&A as well. So there you go.
Hey guys, it's Max once again with our Sports Card Nation weekly releases, and we are back at it again with another week. It is a short week today. We have, on the 16th, we have 2022 Break King Baseball Premium Edition, 2021 Panini Limited Football, and on the 18th we have Yu-Gi-Oh! Karibo Collection Accessories, and on the 23rd we have 2022 Panini Prism UFC, 2022 Historic Autographs Supreme Rewind, 2021 Panini Fortnite Series 3 Training Cards, 2022 Super Break Basketball 23 out of 24, 2022 TriStar Hidden Treasures Football Mini Helmet, 2021-22 Upper Deck Artifacts Hockey, 2021-22 Upper Deck Series 1 Hockey Retail, 2021-22 Upper Deck Series 1 Hockey Retail Tin, 2021-22 Upper Deck Series 1 Hockey Fat Pack Box. And that is this week's releases. Make sure to check us out on Instagram at _sportscardshop, and have a nice rest of your podcast.
It's time for the Hobby What's Up, where we go around the hobby world and tell you all the latest news and breaking stories from the hobby we love.
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up?
All right, Tom Brady has joined us here in the studio. Hey, Tom, what do you got to say? All right, you heard it there from the man himself. He said psych, meaning he's coming back. Like I said about a month ago on this very show, that he would come back and play. I wasn't buying it then. And, a little pat on my own back. I told you so. I said I would do that, too, if this happens. And it has. Tom Brady is returning. What effect will that have on his cards? Maybe a little bit of a bump. Maybe not. Because usually cards of surefire Hall of Famers go up when they announce their retirement, and then another bump when they get inducted. And so I don't know. We'll see. But how about being that guy that just paid $518,000 for what was believed to be the last touchdown thrown by Tom Brady? Most likely not going to be the case, because once he comes back and throws another one, that last touchdown ball is not a last touchdown ball. And a normal Tom Brady thrown touchdown ball is not going to bring over $500,000. So what do you do if you're this guy? Can you return it? Can you legally do anything? I don't know, but man, that's a bitter pill to swallow there. And another break-in and smash and grab at an LCS this time. Niles Sports Cards in Niles, Ohio. 3 cases were smashed. The perpetrator came in through a side door, smashed 3 cases, took $9,000 in cards and merchandise. There is videotape of it, so hopefully, apprehension is acquired as what usually happens. They do get the person, but hopefully, that's the case. But this is obviously a daily occurrence at this point, and it's sad to see. CSG is reporting they have caught up on their grading backlog, and that turnaround times should get better, but we'll see how that goes. PSA, speaking of grading, PSA is opening now a Seattle office, which will house 20 software engineers and tech folks. So there won't be grading cards there, but this will be sort of their tech operations now in Seattle. And probably the biggest news story of this week at their annual conference, eBay has announced they're going to start their own vault, start their own digital wallet, meaning if you sell cards, you can keep your money in your eBay account to purchase other cards. They're going to be opening up a 31,000 square foot storage facility that will serve as that vault, and they expect to have in that vault over $3 billion worth of cards in the next few years. They're also talking about getting into the fractional market and live breaks. So it looks like eBay is wanting to take on PWCC on some fronts, and then add live breaks to their arsenal as well. So eBay is really taking their card aspect and just made it its own entity. So they're gonna have a vault, a digital wallet, a 31,000 square foot facility serving as that vault. They want to get into the fractional market and live break. So between them, BWCC, Fanatics, I don't know how they all do competing against each other, but eBay's not going away no matter whether this is successful or not.
I know the chunky that left these chunkies. Newman! Open the door, Newman! I know you're in there!
Sports Card Nation. All right, it's time for Newman's Rambling, where I select one question I get each week and answer it on the air.
John, you seem like an astute man.
Thank you, Mr. Walken.
Maybe you can help explain something to me.
Well, I'll give it my best shot. All right, today's episode question, I apologize, was from someone from actually a few months back. They DM'd me, I believe, on Twitter. I don't know, Twitter or Instagram. And I actually answered the question directly to them. I responded back and answered the question. But I remembered the question, and I thought, man, this is sort of a perfect question to answer for this episode. And their question basically was, again, paraphrasing, John, you do shows as a dealer. You do shows as a, consumer where you just go to the show and you're not set up. Which one is more enjoyable for you? And again, a little bit of a cop-out answer, but they're both enjoyable for me. They both have elements of adrenaline, right? When I'm going to a show as just a consumer, it's like, what am I going to buy? What am I going to run into? Who am I going to meet or see, right? Those things that get your juices sort of flowing. Obviously, as a seller, it's always fun, selling your cards, knowing that, a majority of the money you make or a good portion of the money you make are going to go into buying some new cards, maybe some PC cards, right? So it's hard to, it's like asking somebody like that has two kids, right? Which one's your favorite? And I think most parents would say, "Listen, I love my kids equally." And I'll sort of say that with both aspects of the show, going as a dealer, going as a consumer. Obviously, going as a dealer, there's a lot more work involved than that, right? Going to the show as a consumer, you just get in your car, take your wallet, your phone, go to the show, pay your admission if there is one, and go in and do your business if you're going to do business and that sort of thing, right? Doing it as a dealer is a whole nother level, right? You got to get prepped during the week, pricing things, new inventory. My stuff's in alphabetical order, believe it or not. So, anytime I acquire new inventory, that's got to be cataloged in that fashion. And so it's sort of I don't want to say a grind. I want to, make it sound like it's terrible, factory work, bad conditions, hot, sweaty. It's not that, but there's a lot of pre-show work that goes into just setting up. Then you got to load your vehicle up. You got to, get to the show, unpack your vehicle, set up your table, set up all your gear. Then the fun part comes where you sell and talk to people. Like, that's the best part of the dealer side of the show. And then I think one of the worst parts is at the end of the show, right? You got to pack up. And for me, again, that alphabetical order thing is one of the reasons my son sort of hates helping me, because it takes me, I'm the last guy out of the show because of how I pack things up. I'm sort of methodical about it, everything in alphabetical order. My son's like, "Dad, just throw it in the box. Let's get out of here." And I'm like, "No, I've got to, put these back the way they were." So during the week, when I make sales online with all my stuff being alphabetical order, I can pull orders very, very quickly. I will say this, and I'm not trying to be cocky. Based on my inventory and the orders I get, I do it quicker than the average bear, just because of the organization that I have with them. Now, you might say, "Well, you spend extra time getting to that point." And you're right, I did. As a matter of fact, if you've listened to the show, you might remember saying me to get all my inventory when I decided to put it in alphabetical order. It literally took 3 weeks to do it. But now that that 3 weeks is done and it's not as bad as you think. As I get 50 new cards. I get them sleeved, put them semi-rigids, price them, and put them in alphabetical order first, and then open my inventory cases and then put them in the proper slots. But when I'm packing up, I'm just methodical. It takes me a little bit longer. So the packing up part, and then loading the vehicle, driving home, and then bringing the stuff in, and most of it goes up here in this studio office on the second floor. Not all of it, like my showcases and things like that, go in my detached garage, which is right where my car is, but the cards itself come in the house and they got to go upstairs. My son is usually good and will help me sort of assembly line that, but that's probably not the funnest part, if you will. So I like them both. The responsibility is a lot less when I go to the show just as a consumer. Just jump in my car, fly to wherever, from going to Dallas or what have you, or the National, and so my responsibilities are sort of less in those cases. But I love both aspects. I'm in the unforeseen future, I'm going to continue to do both.
And now, our feature presentation.
Today's episode title, Show Fatigue. What do I mean by that? Not being too tired to go to a show, but, sometimes when there's a lot of shows or too many of them, the bloom comes off the rose. And we're going to discuss whether that's the case or will be the case. Again, opinions may vary. I'm on both sides of the table. I do shows as a dealer, and I attend shows as a consumer. So I have sort of both those lenses to speak on, both perspectives, if you will. And obviously during the pandemic, or I mean, we're still in it in a sense, but during the height of the pandemic, obviously shows were one of the first things to fall by the wayside, and as expected. I'm not complaining about it. Just that's what had to happen. We lost the national that one year, and Atlantic City, and other shows as well. But that's obviously the granddaddy of them all. And now that we're sort of on the back end, if you will, of the pandemic, and more into the new norm, if you will, where shows can go on without a hitch, maybe mask mandates where we have to wear masks at them, which is no big deal to me. But now we're seeing the rise of shows, which is good. I love shows, like I said, both sides of the table. But maybe too many is not always a good thing, too. We're going to kind of tackle that during this episode. But before we do, we're going to hear from our great sponsors of Hobby Quick Hits, Mojo Brakes. And then when we come back, we'll dive right in.
MojoBrakeShop.com is the best place to get your sealed wax products and brakes. They not only have the best selection, but the best prices. Whether it's a box or a whole case, they are your guys. They ship worldwide to your doorstep. Their reputation as one of the most trusted in the hobby goes unmatched. They are the 2021 Topps Rip Party Champion Breakers. From sports cards to Pokemon cards, their selection can't be beat. They offer daily deals and pre-orders.
All right, we're back. So make no mistake, I love a show, right? Whether you're doing a show as a seller or dealer, or you're just going to the show as a consumer, that feeling you get of excitement, adrenaline, whether you're a seller, how much am I going to sell? How much am I going to make? What am I going to get to buy on that side of the table? Maybe get some deals. And then as a consumer, what am I going to find? The hunt through bargain boxes, if that's your thing. Quarter, 50-cent boxes, dollar boxes. We see all the social media posts. Look what I found. Got it for $1, and that sort of thing. The treasure hunt aspect of shows, right? It's great. I'm blessed to experience both perspectives on both sides of the table. And, the pandemic hit, and shows were, the hobby was doing great, right? The hobby boomed during that. That was the perfect storm. We talked about that on plenty of episodes, right? But one thing that did not succeed was card shows. They were pretty much all canceled, and so all transactions at that time took place, mostly online, right? Some stores were open. I know some stores offered like curbside service, but generally the hobby boomed, but it was mostly an online boom at that point, right? Between eBay sales and auction houses and online type of sales, and nothing wrong with that, right? Transaction's a transaction, but if you know me, I've always said an online transaction will never beat an in-person one, given the choice. At least to me, I rather do a deal in person. You see the card in your hand before you purchase it, and that camaraderie, that conversation you have as a buyer and seller. You can't get that behind a computer screen or a phone screen. I don't care what anyone says. So, it went online heavy during the pandemic, and then as numbers trended better, restrictions got lowered, right? Masks could come off in certain situations in certain states. We saw shows come back again, thankfully. Here in New York, I believe we went 19 or 20 months without a card show in this area here in Central New York. I'm in Syracuse now, and we still did cards. We just did it online, and then it was announced that card shows were restrictions were being lowered, and card shows could start up again. And as a dealer here, I used to travel more as a dealer and set up at more shows out of state. Now I tend to just do my local ones, and then, sometimes maybe I'll go to Dallas as a consumer, not to set up, see some friends, hang out, make a weekend, catch a Ranger game, that sort of thing. My younger days, I'd probably be set up if I made that trip. But plus during my younger days, cards were more of a full-time business for me as well. From 1992 to probably 99, that was my main source of income. That's sort of not really the case anymore. It is a source of income, but I also have a regular job that I love as well. So, it's not as necessary, if you will. It's really extra kind of income, and I enjoy it. So it's not even, I don't look at it as work either. So shows started back up. I started to do them again. Obviously, when you haven't done one that long, you want to get back on the horse and ride it. That first show back, I did a Hobby Quick Hits episode about it. Was a great one. The second one was pretty good, and then subsequent ones. I just did one a couple weeks ago. Was my best Syracuse show ever in terms of intake. Not my best show ever, but my best Syracuse show in terms of how much I did. But now the Syracuse shows are usually about 3 to 4 months apart. We're starting to do them kind of 1 month apart, which, put the thought in my mind, can we be overdoing shows? We're seeing shows across the country, numerous shows popping up. Many of them are doing very well, and that's a good thing. But we're seeing sort of, shows that were, once every 2 months, once every 3 months become one a month or even 2 a month. We're seeing a prevalence of them. And people love shows. I get it. Promoters love shows, right? They get to sell tables. People love shows. They get to buy and trade or sell their stuff, right? We know going up to a table with a Pelican case, right, or some sort of case of cards and selling to the dealer, people make huge money doing that. I fully understand. Everyone's got their hand in the till, so to speak. And that's why one of the reasons we love shows, right? The hunt, going through bargain boxes, finding hidden stuff. Maybe the dealer forgot something was in there, priced it when that card was kind of rock bottom, and now it's made a resurgence, right? A resurgence. So we love all that stuff, and we should. That's a great aspect of the hobby that we should enjoy. But sometimes, right, like a good thing, sometimes if you overdo it, there can be some fatigue, and that's my concern. I don't think we're there yet. So let me go on record and say that. I don't think we're at show fatigue yet. But here's what worries me. As a dealer and a consumer, again, I wear both of those hats, so I kind of have a unique perspective. I'm not the only one. I'm just saying not everyone wears both hats like that. So, let's talk real world economics, right? The stimuluses are done. Most people, or a good percentage of people, are back to work. Those bonus, unemployment insurance packages are expired. So a lot of that perfect storm during what we'll call the hobby boom, that's those clouds and have went away, and we're sort of back to that normalcy. But we're also seeing, again, real world economics does play a factor here. We're talking about discretionary income, right? we're at the highest inflation probably in the history of this country. We see gas prices, hitting marks never seen before. And so all this stuff affects discretionary incomes, right? Now, there's certain class of the hobby, right? The millionaire class, right? That's immune to this, right? $6 gas not going to bother someone who's a millionaire or billionaire, right? I think we can all agree on that. But this show isn't really geared toward those folks. Truth be told, it's for the rest of us that don't live in that realm, right? Gas prices, discretionary income. When that comes down, it affects our budgets and bottom lines, and our budgets usually go down. If income goes down, our budgets go down. That's just, economics 101. If a company, starts making less money, they're going to tighten their belts, right? When they do their annual budget, they're going to start lowering things and cutting corners where they can. Well, that happens in your house, whether you're married or you're single, right? Your house is a business, and you have a budget each year. And if the income's less, right, you got to tighten your belt on some, pleasure expenses. And let's be honest, even though, the hobby's doing well, it is a pleasure expense. You can live without buying a card. It's not a necessary to survival. It's not air, it's not water, it's not food. Some people might be very close to that, but for most, it's sort of an outlet, right? Something we can take enjoyment from, a hobby, an outlet, a kind of an escape from reality a little bit for others, right? And so with less money potentially, and I don't know, most experts and financial people are saying kind of the stuff we're seeing in the real world is going to last through the year 2022 at the very least. We got obviously an invasion / war in Ukraine. That I don't know how this thing ends. It's a scary thing, truth be told, and where it may escalate to. Hopefully it doesn't. And so a lot of uncertainty, right? Uncertainty affects the stock market. You might have noticed some of your 401ks have dipped, along with a lot of other things. And so a lot of uncertainty, people sort of tighten the belts. But there's more shows popping up, and I just don't think they can all weather the storm that we're sort of now facing after the hobby boom. Kind of, whether you want to call it a hobby reset, like Ty Wilson calls it, which I kind of like that term. Whether you want to call it a correction, which I've used, and others have just plain out and called it a crash, which is more of a stronger word, but it really doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. It's all percentages, and we've seen, especially on the modern and ultra-modern side, right, stuff come down. And, now we got shows, right? I think we got shows trying to best the National, right? The National, which I call the Super Bowl of the hobby, right? That's the event everyone goes to or tries to go to, that you circle that week on your calendar, and it's sort of like the Academy Awards. It's the hobby equivalent of the Academy Awards, right? You try to be there, you're there for a week, a lot of different things going on, and it's a great event, for kind of being exposed to it recently. It's a great event that I plan on, God willing, going each and every year that I can. I'm not saying I will make it every year, but I will definitely give it my best attempt too. I will be there this year in Atlantic City, even a National, which I love, and it's like I just went on a soapbox and said it's an event I'm going to try to go to every year. If you don't go to the National, right, doesn't make you any less part of the hobby. No way, right? I went to my first National 2019. So I didn't go for 40 Nationals. I was still in the hobby. I owned a card store for 7 years. Didn't go to the National. Still made some cash. It was my full-time job. So not going to the National didn't make me any less part of the hobby. And none of these shows do either. If you don't attend these events, doesn't mean you're not part of the hobby. It just means you didn't go to that show. And so we're seeing all these shows try to rise up and either be the National or be better than the National. And I'm going to tell them, save it, because there's only going to be one National. It has too much clout. It has too much pedigree behind it. Over 40 years of doing it. It's a show where everyone does, or I should say almost everyone does attend, from distributors to card companies to startups. I mean, it's again, the Super Bowl of the hobby, the World Series of the hobby, the Academy Awards of the hobby, whatever you want to coin it. That's what the National is. It's. I don't see anyone dethroning it. Whether you go to an event or you don't go to an event, if you're in the hobby, you're in the hobby. But let's get kind of coming down the home stretch here. We're just seeing a plethora of more shows. Get off that soapbox there. And I just worry that the economy's not going to maintain that. In other words, all the shows I've done here in Syracuse at the New York State Fairgrounds since the restrictions have been lowered, I've done well. I know there's going to be a clunker in here somewhere. I'm waiting for it. I'm sort of bracing. I got another one here in a couple weeks. It's the shortest amount of time between two fairground shows ever. Is that going to be the clunker? We just had one, and 4 weeks later we're going to have another one when it's usually 2 or 3 months. I don't know. I'm going to find out, right? I'm going to be selling. I'm going to be behind the behind the tables, I should say, with all my stuff out. And I've been on a pretty good run since the show started back up. But, Syracuse is not a huge economy for cards, truth be told. And like I said, that's what makes the last 3 or 4 shows really great for me and impressive. But we're really sort of due for maybe, hey, a little show fatigue. Hey, I just went to one 4 weeks ago. I don't have the extra money, and I can't go. Or I'll wait till, July or August, whenever the next one is. And I hope I'm wrong. I don't want to be right in that category. I'm just using logic and common sense and experience from doing many Syracuse shows over the years. But we'll see, We'll see. We're seeing shows pop up in rural areas, right, that normally doesn't get card shows. I love that. If you live in an area where, maybe there's no LCSs and card shows weren't prevalent or non-existent even before. Now you're getting them. Now an LCS opens. I love that. I love that in-person transaction to enjoy the hobby on an interpersonal level. And I don't want that to go away. I'm just saying, there's a risk that when it's like a balance of scales, right? When one side gets too heavy, it sort of collapses on that side. And some shows just have such a pedigree that they're just successful no matter what. I think the National obviously fits that bill. I think some regional shows fit that bill. And I'm sure there's some local shows that fit that bill, especially when they're not overdone. So, it's just a topic I wanted to tackle. Let me know what you think. Do you think we're headed for show fatigue? Are you at show fatigue in your area? Or do you think you're immune to show fatigue? Again, every area is different, right? I can only really speak to the shows that I go to and the area I live in. But it's, the United States is a big piece of land with a lot of shows in different areas, and they all have a different aspect to them, even though the thread is the same with cards and memorabilia. What say you? Do you feel the same way? Or is it something you think about, you don't think about, you think it's not a real factor, that there is no such thing. Some people tell me there is no show fatigue. It's just a economics type of deal. And there's probably some truth to that too. So what say you? What do you think? It was definitely a tackle I wanted to tackle, definitely a subject I wanted to tackle with the rise of shows again, which ultimately, don't twist my words. I think it's a beautiful, wonderful, and great thing that we're getting shows, and especially in areas that maybe never even had them before. So those hobbyists can get those joys, and it shows are fun, whether you're a dealer or a buyer. And I'm both. They're definitely fun. A fun day, a fun weekend, a fun week, no matter how you slice it. So there you go. All right, that's going to do it for another episode of Hobby Quick Hits. If you like this show or our parent show, Sports Card Nation, which comes out on Fridays with an interview guest, we appreciate any likes, subscribes, follows on any of our social medias, or go to your favorite podcast platform and give us a great review. We appreciate it. And we're always open to feedback. Whatever you like, don't like, let us know. That's how we get better as well. So with that being said, hope you're enjoying shows in your area and getting to attend them, whether that's as a buyer or seller or / both. And shows are a beautiful thing. And maybe I'll see you at the show.